Before we start this video, a large thank you to Logan, Kushasha, Shane, Paul, Rule 34 Games, Matthew Hale, Christian, and Padden Yin. As per usual, I apologize for my terrible pronunciation. I hope you guys enjoy the video. And a special thank you to Albright this month for their immense support to this channel. Hello guys, today we're going to refactor our combat stance state and our attack state, and we're going to give our enemy the ability to walk around the player after an attack has been performed and we are on the cooldown. So, let's start off by actually rearranging some things. I'm going to take this variable here, distance from target, and put it right at the top. In the next video, we're going to take all those variables that calculate the angle and the distance from target, and instead of calling them all on each individual state, we're just going to call them on the enemy manager. So we're going to change that around drastically in the next video, but for now, we're not going to worry about that. I'm just going to delete this here, and then right above here, I'm going to paste this here, and we're just going to say if distance from target is greater than maximum attack range, return the pursued target state. So if the enemy's out of range, we're going to run after them again. We're just going to delete that logic there altogether, and we're going to delete this pseudocode here, and we are going to begin implementing some functionality into this state. So let's start off by saying bool. We're going to make a bool for random destination set, and all this is going to do is it's going to say, have we yet decided how we're going to manipulate our animator values? And we're going to do that by manipulating the horizontal and vertical values. So we're going to say if the destination has not been set, well, we're going to say set the destination. So we're going to say random destination set equals true. And then we're going to decide what we're going to do. So we're going to say decide circling action for now. That just means let's decide what way we're going to walk around our potential target. And then when we leave the state, we're going to say random destination set is equal to false. So this whole logic will reset when we come back into the state once again. All right, so now below the main tick, right down here below handle rotate towards target, we are going to say private void. I'm just going to say walk around play. Actually, I'm going to say walk around target. And we're going to say, we're going to need the enemy animator manager because again, we're just going to do this by manipulating the horizontal and vertical values, which will make our enemy strafe because right now we only use the vertical values, which is why our enemy always runs forward towards the player. If we also pair in the horizontal values, you will get a strafing animation. So let's say float vertical movement value is equal to 0 and float horizontal movement value is equal to 0. And now when we're in this state, we're going to change the two of these randomly. So basically, you can make a whole bunch of these. You can make walk around target, run around target, and you can, like, depending on what kind of action you want them to do, we can limit these. So, for example, you can set it up vertical movement value. You can say random range. Right now, I'm just going to use 0 and 1 because I always want the vertical value to be positive. I don't want them walking backwards from the player. I always want them walking towards the player. But if you wanted a backwards motion too, you could make it between -1 and 1. So it would either be -1, 0, or 1. And you could have the enemy walking towards the player, away from the player, or just sideways and having no movement on the vertical at all. But I always want them walking towards the player. I find it's better. And if you have them walking towards the player slowly, they're more inclined to generate attacks, and the combat is a bit more, I guess, streamlined. So we'll say if vertical movement value is less than or equal to 1 and vertical movement value is greater than 0, we're just going to say vertical movement value is 0.5. Honestly, this whole process right here now, as I'm looking back at it, I change it in the future. It's pointless. We're just going to say vertical movement value is always equal to 0.5, so you're always walking towards your target. But again, this is completely modular. If you want to make that more open to different movement values, like I said, you can have -1, 0, or 1, or anything in between. You can do that. I just recommend setting it up so your vertical movement value is always 0.5. Moving on, horizontal movement value. That's one we want to mess with a lot. We're going to say random.range between -1 and 1. So I want to have it in this particular function where it's only walking. So it will be either -0.5, 0, or 0.5. I never want -1 or 1 because that will give you a running animation, and I want the player or the enemy to walk around the player. So we're going to say if horizontal movement value is less than or equal to 1 and horizontal movement value is greater or equal than 0, we're going to say horizontal movement value equals 0.5f. And if it is greater or equal to -1 and less than 0, we're going to say horizontal movement value is equal to -0.5f. So basically, it's either 0.5f or -0.5f. You're either walking to the left or walking to the right. But you can change that to whatever you like. In my standalone, I have like 6 different circling options where some enemies have the ability to run, Some will circle around you with walking only, some won't circle at all. So I'm going to make this function here called decide circling action. And then depending on maybe some bools that you set up on your enemy states, you can pick which one that you want. So circle with only forward vertical movement, circle with running, circle with walking only. What I'm saying is you can make a bunch of these functions and then you can set it up in the enemy manager. You can just tick a bool, and depending on which option you tick, you can pick one of these actions. Because a dog will behave different than a knight, and a knight will behave different than an undead, etc., etc. If you want somebody to be more aggressive, maybe you want them running while they're circling around. Maybe you only want them walking. It's all up to you. So regardless, we have to pass the enemy animator manager here. Let's paste that in here. And because we're only going to choose the walking one for now. And then we're just going to say decide circling action. And keep in mind, your animations are very much a deciding factor in how this is going to look as well. So if you have bad animations, you might need to tailor up and change the values. I'll show you what I mean in the end. I'll compare this project to my standalone project. So we will say enemy animator manager.anim.setFloat, and we're actually going to pass the horizontal and vertical values here that we just created, but we're going to pass them over a time of 0.2f by time.delta time, so it's not just snapped together and it's not too rigid. And then we're going to do the same thing here for the horizontal value. So let's copy that and paste that right below here. We'll change vertical to horizontal, and we'll change the vertical movement value to horizontal movement value. Now this video is going to be a little bit long, guys, because this wasn't really something I could do in like 10 to 15 minutes. There's a bit of refactoring here as well as implementing new logic, so just bear with me here. We're going to open up this is interacting, and we're not just going to return. We're going to make sure we snap our animator movements back to 0, because if we're interacting and we're in any kind of attack animation, we enter the state, or any kind of animation at all, we don't want any movement on our vertical or horizontal. So I'm just going to copy and paste this here, and I'm just going to highlight everything here. Actually, I could just delete everything. We're going to bring that right back to 0. So let's just highlight everything here in 0. Get rid of that. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. Okay, so let's save that. Now, let's see what we got here. Our attack state, right? So we actually want to decide our attack action before we leave this state and then send it to the attack state. So let's delete distance from target and maximum attack range here, because when we decide our attack, it's only going to pick an attack if we're in range and if we're within the right angles. So we don't need to put that there. We're just going to say if our attack state.current attack does not equal null. And now what we're going to do is we're going to actually copy the enemy attacks here and bring them over to the combat stand state. Just paste them here, our potential attacks. And then we're going to copy the function for get new attack and delete it from the attack state and bring it back to the combat stand state. And remember, this function, get new attack, it will actually check for the angles and distance. So we don't need to check for that outside of this function. And then we can say attack state.current attack equals enemy attack action. So when it picks an attack, it will send it to the attack state. That way, all the attack state does is it just attacks and then returns. There's no waiting around and deciding for logic. So else we're going to say get new attack. So if the current attack on the attack state equals null, we're just going to decide here and get a new attack. And again, we will get a new attack based on the angle, the enemy, the distance away, etc., etc. And then we're just going to put the return this on the outside here. So this state looks a lot cleaner now. It's a lot more straightforward, less junk, I will say, and it should perform much better. And as you can see here, it checks for the distance and the angle and all that within this function, so we don't need to check again before going to the attack state. When we go to the attack state, we should just immediately attack and then come right back to the rotation state and back to the combat stand state. So we're good to go here, I think. Let me just read down through this again. Yes, we are. Now let's go to the attack state and change up our logic. Now this is a freaking mess. This was our prototype, and it definitely served the purpose when we had less, I guess, less logic. But now that we have more logic, let's just erase everything in here. We're going to implement it in a way more streamlined, clean way. You're going to see what I mean. It's going to look much nicer, and it's going to be able to read a lot easier. So let's just paste that variable here, float distance from target. And then we're going to say if distance from target is less than enemy manager dot maximum attack range. Then we're going to do some logic here. We're going to return we're going to go up here, and we're actually going to call upon our pursue target state, and then we're going to return the pursue target state. So if we're at a range, we want to return the pursue target state. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Next, Let's go under this, and we're going to say if will do combo on next attack and enemy manager can do combo, then we are going to obviously perform the combo action. So let's put some pseudocode here, and we're going to say attack with combo. And then we're going to say set cooldown time for our next attack. All right. Now, normally when we come into the state, we can't combo right away. We're actually here to perform an attack. So let's make a bool has performed attack. So we know once we have performed an attack, we can leave the state. So let's initialize that at false. Then we're going to say if we have not performed an attack, well, let's go ahead and perform an attack, and then let's roll for a combo chance. And then lastly, we're going to do the check if we can leave the state. So just 3 simple checks here. It's going to say if we can perform a combo and we have done an attack, we're going to go back up to the top of this logic because that means we need to do the combo action. So we're just going to say goes back up to perform the combo. But if you have performed an attack and you cannot do a combo, we're just going to return the rotate towards target state. So we need to get our bearings, and we're going to rotate towards our enemy. Now we don't have that state here, so let's actually call that up here, or make a public variable for rotate towards target state and drag it into the inspector rather. There we go. And this looks a whole lot cleaner and easier to follow than what we had before. You can see it's really just 3 simple checks here. Are we going to perform a combo? Okay, if we are, let's do that and then set the cooldown time. If not, let's perform our attack. And if we have performed an attack and we can do a combo, we're going to go back up to the top. So it's very easy to follow. And up to the top here, we're just going to say handle rotate towards target enemy manager. And we're actually going to change this a little bit because right now we're not using this correctly, I will say, in this form. So let's delete this bottom part here. And we're going to say instead of enemy manager is performing action, we're going to say enemy manager dot can rotate. And we actually don't have can rotate added to the character manager variable list. So let's do that. So here you see we have a can rotate variable, or bool rather, in our animator. And if you remember correctly, our player attacks, and there's a brief period where you can rotate during your attack. So let's go on to the enemy manager here and go to the character manager where it derives from. And under our header for movement flags, let's add a bool called can rotate. And then we're going to fetch that bool from the animator, because during some attack animations, if you play the animation event where you allow the enemy or player to rotate briefly, they can rotate towards the person they're attacking. So on the update, let's just say can rotate is equal to enemy animator manager.anim.get bool can rotate. And now if you have animation events on your enemy's attacks that allow them to rotate briefly, during that window of opportunity where they can rotate, this will actually allow them to rotate towards the player they're attacking. So if enemy manager.can rotate, we will manually rotate towards our target. And just to be clear, I'm actually going to rename this function. I'm going to call it, let's say, rotate towards targets whilst attacking. That's a lot more clear. And then we're going to put that, again, it should be right at the top of the state. So while you're performing your attack, you will rotate. And then we're going to say, and enemy manager is interacting, so that's guaranteed that you're only doing that during an attack then. You can also put that in at the top of the rotation state, because your attacks will sometimes bleed into your rotate towards target. And if that is the case, you want them to still be rotating when they enter that state. So then we're just going to say roll for combo chance, where we have that greened out code. And then we're going to say attack target. And all we need for that is the enemy animator manager, I do believe. Might need the enemy manager as well. We'll see in a second. And it's very simple. We're just going to say enemy animator manager dot play target animation current attack. I think it's called attack. No, it's called action animation. And then we're going to say true. Sorry guys, getting my projects mixed up here with my naming conventions. And we're going to say has performed attack is equal to true. Very straightforward. And then in the pseudocode here, we will say attack target. And we'll pass our enemy animator manager. And just look how nice that looks compared to the way it used to be. So much neater, so much cleaner, so much easier to follow and adjust. Okay, so next let's make our private void. And we're gonna call this one attack target with combo. So this is the combo check, or the attack with the combo function rather. And again, we're gonna need the enemy animator manager. And as you can imagine, this is pretty much identical to the attack target functionality, except for one difference. We changed our will perform combo to false. But before we do that, go to the combat stance state, and at the top of that say attack state dot has performed attack is equal to false. So every time we leave the attack state and go back to the combo or combat stance state, we're making sure we reset our has performed an attack. There we go. Change that to public. We're good to go. Now back to what I was saying. The attack target with combo function, it is pretty much identical. We're just going to say will do combo next attack is equal to false. So that's the difference. But then we can just copy and paste this exactly how it is. There we go. And what we want to do now is say current attack is equal to null. All right, so now down here on roll for combo chance, we actually have to make a few adjustments. Like what happens if not every one of your attacks has a combo action? Well, we're going to say if current attack dot combo action does not equal null, well, then we can do a combo. So we'll put this in here, and then we'll say current attack equals current attack dot combo action. Else, then we're going to say we'll do combos equal to false and current attack is equal to null. Okay, very simple, very nice, very clean. And now let's implement our attack target with combo up here in the green text. And I see now we have a set cooldown timer. So what we want to do is actually set that in one of these functions here. So first let's say attack target with combo. We don't want to set that here. Let's actually set it inside the function itself. What's that called again? Enemy manager dot action cooldown timer. Current recovery time is equal to current attack dot recovery time. Now we only want to do that when we're not doing a combo or after we're done our combo, because the enemy doesn't have to recover if he has to play a combo action. So let's just say that right here. Actually, no, that'll be fine. We can do it here because we'll play the combo action regardless because of the logic. So let's say enemy manager. We're going to call that here on this function. And then we're just going to say enemy manager.current recovery time equals current attack dot recovery time. Okay, there we go. And now when you pass off to the combat stance state, you will have a recovery time after you attack before you can attack again. Let's say enemy manager. Good. All right, looks good. Now let's do some more adjustments. On the rotate towards target state, we are going to pass the combat stance state, so we're not eternally locked in rotations. And now go down through your states and make sure you have all the variables filled in, because I think we called a few more. Let's see. Yes, we need to drop in the pursue target state here and the rotate towards target state. And we also need to drop in the attacks now on the combat stance state. So let's do that. Okay, that looks good. Oh, actually, we need to go to rotate towards target state and make that public. There we go. Public combat stance state. Okay, let's save that. Okay, let's drag that in there. Excellent. All right, now on the combat stance state, we should have our attack options. Let's also drop in our current state to the idle state again. So we start off in the idle state. And now our enemy attacks. There's two, I believe, that I have in this project. Yes, enemy attack 01 and 02. All right, cool. Now pressing along. Back over on the rotate towards target state, we want to say if enemy manager is interacting, return. And this is because when you enter the rotate target state, you're going to be still in the attack animation, so you will be interacting. And if you're interacting, it's not going to let you play any of these rotation animations, and you're going to go right back to the combat stance state, and you're going to skip it. So while we're interacting, we just want to lock ourselves right here, so we can't go past the state until we're done and we've rotated towards our enemy, or we're not interacting anymore. This is also why you want to put the rotate towards your enemy while attacking function in this state as well. Because if you have your animation event for rotating towards your enemy on the later part of the attack animation, you won't be able to rotate towards your target because you'll be in that state and that logic isn't there. So I'm going to do that in the next video, but if you want to, you can go ahead and do it now, because in the next video, we're going to polish up our states a bit more. So I'm going to change that to, instead of maximum attack range, maximum aggro radius, because we're actually going to make a radius for how we circle our player. It's no longer our attack range. The name fits much nicer. Let's copy these variables up here on the pursue target state, paste them at the top. Let's say handle rotate towards target at the top, and I'm just going to say public rotate towards target state up here. I never tried this in my solo project, but I want to try it here. When we're in the pursue target state, I'm going to say right at the top here, we're going to make an if viewable angle. And we're going to say, I'll say if it's greater than, actually we need to do sine angle first, otherwise we can't get a negative value, so let's change that to sine angle. Let's say vector 3.up. Now let's say if viewable angle is, we have to adjust these values I think. We'll try 35, or if its viewable angle is less than minus 35, then we'll return the rotate target state. Actually, let's try 55 or 45. And the reason why I'm doing this is because that way we'll stop pursuing the target and we'll actually turn around to face them, because it'll go to the rotate towards target state, and then it will put us back in the pursue target state from that. So that should make us, it should make the enemy stop and turn around to face you if you've actually just totally lost them. Let's drag that in there. And actually I'm going to put it to 65 or 55. Yeah, let's try 65. Like that's better. That way he has a wider range before he actually stops and tries to turn around and face us. All right, now over here in the combat stance state, like I said before, I'm just going to change the vertical movement to 0.5f. Don't need to have a random value for that. I always want them to be walking towards the target because this is called walk around target. So I always want that forward motion. Now, if I go into the game here, as you can see, he is strafing towards me, and he'll attack, and then he'll strafe again. But I have some bonked animations in this project, so I've cleared them out here, and I'm going to add a few more. I'll do this real quick. I'm trying to make it look a little bit neater. I'm using a free pack, I believe, in this project, so the animations won't look too nice as compared to the way they could, because a lot of this is, like I said, animation dependent. Our enemy does use root motion to walk around. So if you have janky animations, it will look a little bit janky. So I'm just going to change these values here. I want a strafing left, strafing right, and I want a strafing forward left, forward right, and backward left, and backward right. I believe I'm using these from the Invector free locomotion pack, I think. So I think you guys can get those for free as well. I do know they have a free strafing animation kit, just not sure if these are the animations. So I'm going to go ahead and implement my strafing left, right, forward right, and backward left, and backward right. And I'm only going to do the animations for walking right now because, again, I only have this enemy set up to walk forward and backward in strafing motions. He cannot sprint strafe like I have some enemies set up for in my solo project. But if you have the animations, by all means, you can set that up. It looks pretty cool if you can get it done correctly. Okay, so let me just click this one here. That looks good. Let's get the last couple of these in here, and we should be good to go. Okay, cool. Excellent. Okay, so these strafing animations, I'm honestly not a giant fan of them, but they get the job done. And you can see that it will perform the task necessary. I'll show you in contrast my other project after, just to show you how it looks with, in my opinion, cleaner animations. So let me set up this last value here now. I have the left and right and the forward left and forward right. Now I just need the backward left and backward right. I think it's 135. That would be the proper angle. Yes, that's it. And strafe 135. Okay, there we go. Good. Now we want to go back to the combat or rotate towards target state and change all of the return this to return to combat stance state. This is when we were testing in the last video. We don't want to perpetually be rotating. Okay, let's save that. Whoops, not that one. That one actually has to stay as this. And let's save that. Okay. Now if we go to the enemy here, as you can see, he will strafe and he'll attack us, and then he'll rotate towards us, and then he will circle around us again, and then he'll attack us, and then he'll rotate back around and he'll strafe around us like this, and then when he gets close, he'll attack us. As you can see, this is my solo build where I have it done a little bit more tweaked, I'll say, with animations that work out nicely, and I gave the enemy some more long-range attacks. So depending on where he's from and where he's standing, he'll circle around you, and then he'll get close, and he'll try to hit you with a heavy attack or a sprinting attack, and he'll twist around, and he'll go for a light attack or a combo. So you can make this look really nice. It's all about tweaking some stuff in the values and getting the proper animations, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. In the next video, we're going to continue tweaking our AI system and our attacking and our strafing. We're going to make it look a little more clean. We're going to dust up our attack states, and we're going to try to get closer and closer to doing the boss event. So if you guys like the video, please drop a like, leave a comment. It does help get the video around. And if you are feeling super generous, check out my Patreon below. And I'll see you guys in the next one.